Hey, welcome back for another extraordinary couple gentlemen sitting here talking about sci-fi and such. It's Talking Sci-Fi with Sci-Fi Sean and
Just Randy.
And we're going to continue our series of comparing great classic movies and their sometimes crappy remakes. This week we're going to focus on H.G. Wells' The Time Machine.
Oh, all right.
Which we talked about War of the Worlds in our last podcast, but this is another H.G. Wells movie that I just adore. I watched the original a lot. It's a very fun movie. I don't want to use the word fun, but it's a thought-provoking movie.
Yep.
It's about H.G. Wells builds this time machine, and with his group of friends and scientists, proves that he can time travel. Well, he makes this little model of the time machine.
Right.
Thomas Galvin should be on this.
Oh,
Flash up a picture with him in the time
will.
machine, because
Yep.
that's his favorite. I mean, that and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't know how that man survives without any of those movies. But he builds a little miniature and makes it travel in time, and it comes back, and it works, and all this stuff. So he builds a giant version of it and decides that he wants to go exploring the future. So I thought one of the best parts of this movie was the mannequin that was outside his window in the storefront.
And you could see it as it was flipping.
Yep. And as he would travel, the different clothing styles.
Yep.
The skirts got shorter, the arms came out, and it's just the sign of the times. Well, one of his stops on his journey is after a world war. And this world war has broken the crust of the earth.
Yeah.
And volcanoes start coming up because of the technology they're using and such. And he runs into people that he's run into as they were little kids, but it's the future, and it's the same. You got that too, didn't you? So he's like, well, I got to see what's really into the future. So he goes further, and he watches the scenery change. It goes from a city, and then it destroys itself, and it becomes a mountainside and erosion, and then he stops. I don't want to tell you the whole movie, and he's going so fast that when he stops, it's too fast, and it causes the machine to flip over.
Right.
He has to pick the machine back up, and he's in the distant future where society has been split into two classes: the Eloi and the Morlocks. The Morlocks are the underground dwellers that still keep some technology, but they've lived underground because of the radiation and all that. They've mutated into all these monster-looking, glowing eye creatures. The Eloi lived in the ruins on the surface and had become like the Barbie doll society.
Right. Yeah.
They had blonde hair. There was beautiful women and men, and they were fit and all that. And they were uneducated. So H.G. Wells discovers, where are your books and all this? So they go to this library, and all the books just disintegrate into dust. And they don't speak very good English. They're more like children animals. And they said, well, where do you get your food from? And they go, it's brought to us. So something was bringing food to them. It was the Morlocks. So every few cycles of years or whatever, or months, I had never said what time.
Never said, yeah.
This huge, there's this thing, and you described it as Stonehenge. It was like the Easter Island kind of statue, guys. They'd have these giant horns you'd think coming out. They were real horns. They would blow horns, and that would be the Morlock, or the Eloi would just turn into this brain-dead looking zombie and start walking towards this door that's in the side of this mountain. And that was the Morlocks summoning them in because they eat the Eloi.
Yeah.
So H.G. Wells gets involved and tries to help this couple he meets. And what are you doing down there? Kitty popped in to say hello. So it turns out it's a horrific society, and H.G. Wells wants to go back and fix all this before it happens. So he starts getting the Morlocks had put his ship inside the mountain, so he had to go and drag it out and start it up and go back in time, and he makes it back, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. There's no closure on what happened in the future because it hasn't happened yet. So you're thinking, oh, he's going to go back and change the time and everything, and that's what you always assume.
Right.
Is that what you got from it? Hey, here's Kitty real quick. Hi, Kitty. Welcome to the show. What did you think of the Time Machine? Oh, you liked it? Okay. I love you. Okay, I'm going to put you down, okay? All right. Bye, everybody. Kitty always makes cameo appearances at the show.
It was fantastic.
The original.
It was, even though there was some stuff left out and you didn't really realize. Going into it, thinking that the time machine is just going to sit still, I don't know. I just kind of, I guess growing up with, a DeLorean.
Right.
The time machine is moving, phone booths from Bill and Ted.
Right.
When I see this for the first time, because I hadn't never seen this before.
Right.
I didn't even know what Thomas Gavin was writing in the first time I Galvin.
Yep.
First time I videoed him at Sci-Fi 2 or 3 or whatever it was.
Right.
I had no clue what that was. So now that I have watched it, I find that the movie is very good, but it just, it's like shocking that the time machine sits still.
Yes.
And it just travels through.
Well, I think they did that to show you how things were changing.
Yeah, right.
And they did that in Back to the Future and all that too, but just for that whole moment. Now, you're talking about an era of people making movies out of stories that were written before you and I or your dad and your mom and my dad and mom were even born, you know. And to come up with, well, what if, how did, they didn't get the understanding because there were no cars in the H.G. Wells.
Right.
It was horse and buggy, and you can't get a horse to run 88 miles an hour.
You can. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, with the firecracker popping. But I did something with this movie that I haven't done with the other movies. I went on. I have 2 Facebook pages. I have one that I specifically just talk about original movies like Time Machine, and I'm on a group that's called 50s Sci-Fi or something like that. You can't talk about anything
other than that era.
Okay. Correct. So. I went and posed a question. I put both these movie covers on there. I'm saying, I know there's a lot of fans on here, the original H.G. Wells Time Machine, but what did y'all think of the remake? Over 1,000 people responded to me on this thing. 95% of them did not like the remake. They hated it. The most common thing that was said in this thread I'd started was, if I'd never seen the original H.G. Wells, this would have been the remake would have been an okay movie, okay? Because in the remake, he's not even called H.G. Wells. It's another guy. It's just some guy that has a time machine, and his wife gets killed, and he wants to go and change that from happening. Something malfunctions. I'm going to be completely honest with you people. I can't make it through the remake of this movie. Randy can't either.
I can't either.
Because it is so off course from the original that it's like we were talking, if you watched our War of the Worlds podcast, they're expecting you to fill in the gaps with the old movie, and they don't do it with this movie. It's just like, well, here it is. Here's some more Kool-Aid for you to drink. Drink it. And he goes into the future. He runs into the Morlocks. They're not really afraid of the sunlight like the original ones were. They're more like apes, and they can talk. Remember all that?
Yeah.
And they were not these monsters. Now, there was a fear factor going on with the original, with these Morlocks that were in the dark, and all you see is their eyes, and you're assuming, just like in Jaws, you never see the shark until the very end because just people are swimming, all of a sudden, boom, boom, they're jerked
exactly.
in. And it's that original fear factor, just like that's why I enjoy black and white movies so much, because it leads more to the imagination. So. I was off skewed, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So the remake has nothing to do with science or this scientist building a time machine, and it's just it's empty.
It's terrible.
He goes and runs into I think it's the actor's name is Orlando Bloom, and he's the library guy, and he has the little disc he spins to tell about the history. Did you get to that part?
That don't even ring a bell.
Yeah, and instead of the Earth being messed up, it's the moon. The moon has been cracked open and all that. So I apologize on this podcast because it's like me talking about Star Trek Picard, which I still haven't watched.
Golly.
I'm going by what other people have said, but I've made it 75% of this movie.
Okay.
Both times I've tried to watch it. And Lori's the same way. We can't grasp it.
Yeah.
When you do a remake, sometimes they put all this action and stuff in it, but there was not that in that movie either. So it was I'm gonna tell the actor's name. I gotta
didn't
find
like
it real
it.
quick. I could not stand it. Guy Pearce was the guy that played the time traveler. So he runs in. He goes to the future, and all the Eloi are living on the side of a mountain, like Tarzan or something.
Right.
And I guess to get away from the Morlocks, because the Morlocks come up through the ground in the remake movie.
Yeah.
So not only are Randy and I disappointed by the remake, but over 1,000 people on my Facebook page.
That's funny.
couldn't
That's
stand
hilarious.
it. Because they're originalists. That's the whole key to watching these older movies is if it's true to the original movie or not. So let me hear some of your points.
On these two?
Yeah.
I just really I watched the old one for the first time ever, and it just took me by surprise.
Yeah.
How good it was for the era, because I don't normally watch
You don't like
movies
that
with-
because you don't like the fake technology
Right,
and all
yeah.
that background drawing.
And like I said, I remember the starting that in just 2 or 3 times and just never making it through it.
right.
The new one, and I don't know if it's because I don't care for the actor too.
Yeah, he's not a great actor.
just-
That was another complaint that people
Yeah.
said on the Facebook is they didn't like
Yeah.
Guy Pearce as that character, and he wasn't even freaking H.G. Wells. He was another. I don't know if his name is on here. It's not, but it was just like
They created a new character and went with it. Yeah.
and said, all right, well, where the hell did the time machine come from? Where did
Right.
all this crap come from?
Yeah.
You know, but I'm gonna give the remake not even 2 stars
Out of 5.
out of 10.
Oh my God! I'll go with that because I couldn't finish it.
The original 10, I loved it.
Yeah.
You give it an 8 probably,
yeah.
yeah. But I like that technology in
Yep.
those movies and all that. So that's our podcast on the Time Machine, and we hope you enjoyed it. Please send us questions, comments, negative, positive. We want to hear everything. Tell us what you think of these 2 movies, and we'll put it on our next show when we talk about these again. But I'm probably my next event. I'm probably going to give this to a random person. This remake because it's terrible. It's swill. The original H.G. Wells Time Machine, beautiful movie. They did another H.G. Wells movie that had a different actor in it, where H.G. Wells was tracking down Jack the Ripper. And
Oh,
he went
really?
to, Jack the Ripper figured out how to get to the future, so H.G. Wells had to go to the future. Really good movie.
Yeah,
he has
all
the
right.
same time machine and everything. I want to say that David Warner, actor, played Jack the Ripper, and he did a lot of characters in Star Trek.
What's the name of that?
Time After Time.
Time After Time.
Yes, write that
Yeah.
down. Watch Time After Time, because that's another good one for you to watch. So we're going to close this show out, and thank you guys so much. We want to mention a couple sponsors real quick. S&L Restaurant in Lakeland is a huge Sci-Fi Bartow sponsor and sponsor of the podcast. Best hamburger in, I'm going to say, Central Florida. They have great breakfast. They're only open for lunch and dinner. They're in Lakeland on Cumbie Road. Find their Facebook page. I also want to give a big shout out to Chilton Signs. Thomas Galvin and the crew there. They're fantastic. He's, like I said, he's made a life-size version of the H.G. Wells Time Machine. Thomas is a master prop builder, and Chilton Signs can come up with anything you could ever imagine. You have anything before we close out?
No, that's it.
All right, we'll see you next time on This is Talking Sci-Fi with Sci-Fi Sean, and
Just Randy.
stay ahead of yourself.
Welcome to Talking Sci-Fi. And your host and starring Sci-Fi Sean and Just Randy.